I'm Maggie. Welcome to Experiments in Crafting. Sorry about the long delay. We were having kind of massive technical difficulties with YouTube, but I think we've got it sorted out. If you are out there and watching and we're having continued issues, let us know and we'll try and get those fixed. I don't have a whole lot to talk about tonight, but I do have quite a few project updates to share with you guys. And so I thought we'd just kind of sit and talk about yarn and crochet questions and whatever you guys have to talk about. And then I'd share a couple of the projects that I've been working on and see where we end up. So, the first thing that I've got to show off is this dragon. So I showed the pieces all out on the table a couple weeks back, and I have sewed all of the pieces that I've made together. I'm still working on a number of the pieces, so there's some ear flaps here that get attached. It has an optional scales on the back that can go all the way to the end of the tail. And so you can make these like little triangle spikes and then sew them all the way down. I haven't decided if I'm going to do that. Not a huge fan of sewing pieces on, and it feels like it might not add a ton. So I might make a few inches of scales and or just see how they look. But I'm not sure if I will do the whole thing or not, but I might kind of trial it. Let's see. There's wings to add in. I'm working on the wings right now. And then there is like a belly, like colored belly portion that goes through here. That can get added on. And so I've got an accent color of a really nice purple. And then I also had a silver, which I decided I did not like. And I added a green in that I think I like a lot better, but I'm not totally sure. I do like that if I bend the dragon's back a little bit, I can kind of get it to stand up. Or if I bend it this way, then it's like totally sitting down. So you can see like totally sitting down. And then if I bend it, I can get it to like arch its back and stand all the way up. That's a little bit further. Yeah. So the thing that's holding all of the structure here, so you can see, I can unbend the tail and recurl it. I can like pose. There's a lot of like tipping and repositioning that I can do here. So the thing that's doing all of that is paper wrapped floral wire. So it looks like this. It's in the like flower section of the craft store. I got this at Michael's. And it comes in like sticks like this. In like just a long paper envelope. And for this heavy wrapped stuff, I think it was like 6 sticks for $2. For the so this is the paper wrapped kind. There was also a like thread wrapped kind. The thread wrapped, I think you get like 10 sticks in there. It's got the same gauge wire inside, but it's not as heavy. So this is, I don't know, like 1/4 inch wide. When it's wrapped in, I think maybe 1/4 inch, might be 1/8 inch. But it's pretty bulky once it's wrapped in the paper. The thin floral or the thin thread wrapped stuff is only just slightly larger than the wire, because the wire in here is pretty fine. Like if I actually pick this open, you can see the wire is not actually all that thick. The paper's taking up a lot of space. So I'm not sure how well you can see that, but the wire is pretty small there in the center of this paper wrapped wire. So that's the floral wire, and that's what's making most of the structure here. And actually, it's more than one floral wire long. And so all that the designer told me to do was overlap and then tape the overlap. And so the overlap's somewhere in like this like shoulder blade region. Yeah. but it's quite a bit stronger than like pipe cleaner. I used pipe cleaner in one of my dolls, um, and it like I used it in the arms, and it's not ultra strong or ultra posable, which is fine for like these little thin doll arms. But actually, I was kind of having a little bit of trouble with the doll. I should have brought it down with me. But I ended up running the thread wrapped floral wire into her legs. And yeah, and then down through the center of her head. My husband's gonna run and grab the doll. And like just stiffened her up really well, and she wasn't so like bobbly headed and flopping all over the place. And I was actually really quite a bit happier with the doll that I'm working on. After I had like stuck some floral wire in her and really stiffened her up some. So real quick, I'm gonna stop and say hello to a couple people. Jane and Val are saying hi. Welcome. Thanks for joining me. So before, this is the doll that I added the floral wire to. So before, her head was like flopping all over the place, and so all I did was I found a hole in the top of her head, and just started running the wire down, and then just kind of like hand guiding it through her neck, and got the floral wire, and then I did the same here. I ran the wire up through the bottom of her foot. Actually, this one's poking out just a little bit. You can see there's what the thread wrapped floral wire looks like, and so it's not a whole lot bigger than, well, and actually it looks smaller than a pipe cleaner, but the actual wire inside is quite a bit bigger. But like it takes some effort to just bend this. But if I just kind of poke it into her foot, and this doll is not for a child, so I'm not worried about the wire or anything like that poking through or anything. This is just a display thing that I wanted to make. And then it's starting to come out a little bit there, and so I just have to kind of re-guide it. If I had done this before I had sewn her all together, it would have been better positioned, but I was pretty glad that I could just run it through without having to disassemble or anything. I'm kind of still in the process. This is the doll that I was making the custom embroidered eyes for, and we're still working on that. But I was able to get her to not be so floppy and terrible like when she's being displayed. And I'm a lot happier with how she looks. Yeah, she's putting a bad shadow on me, so there, I'll move her on this side. But yeah, you can kind of see here. And then this is just a doll stand that I bought from Amazon that is a pretty good size for these. I think it's intended for like American Girl dolls, but it's working pretty well there. The American Girl dolls are supposed to be held around their waist, and so she's held around her neck because she's quite a bit shorter. But the wing piece for my dragon, so going back to the dragon, I've got it started here. And then there's some surface crochet that happens on here. And then these get inserted to give the wing structure. So I've got a lot of work left to do still on the wings. But this is the purple that I picked out, and it goes pretty well with the dragon. It's a little bit dark, but it's a little hard to see the colors. But you can see it goes pretty well there. So, and then I've got this green, which doesn't look like it goes particularly well, but it's actually a pretty good match for some of the green tones in the dragon. So, I think that'll work just fine for doing a couple of little accent pieces for this dragon. So, that is my goal with that. And my wire cutters are weighing down my project bag pretty substantially here. So that's one project that I'm working on. The other project is this cowl that I'm working on from the Berlin, I've got yarn from the Berlin Yarn Company that I showed off, which is from the Outer Hebrides, which I learned recently that I've been mispronouncing this whole time. But it's Hebrides. And so this is an interesting cowl. It right now it's a 40 single crochet wide tube, which is a little bigger than like a fingerless glove right now. Like I can just about get it on as a fingerless glove. But the idea here is that this will be folded over and make this like loop here. And then when I get it to this point, you work all the way around the whole thing. And then for the rest of the pattern, instead of being 40, it's 80 wide. And so then it's closer to like a cowl width. Like this would be more normal. This would be a pretty narrow cowl. But if you get it to this point, then it's a more normal like size for a cowl. And then the other side of, so this is one end, you work it out into a tube, and then the other end looks similar to this, but it's looped through so that the ends join like this with this like crisscross shape. It's pretty interesting construction. I have no idea how it's going to go. So far, working with this yarn has been pretty good. It's a very, very warm, like, I can feel that it's a very, it's going to be a pretty heavy, warm wool. It's a little bit scratchy and a little bit, like, woolly feeling, like traditional wool. So it's certainly not merino wool. It's got a little bit of scratchiness to it, but I knew it was going to. It's not a super wash wool. And so I knew that was going to be part of it, and I think I'm still really going to like it. Jane is asking what yarn I used for the body of the dragon. I used Malbrigo Rios, which is kind of their like standard worsted weight yarn. I don't remember what color it was. I can look up the colors, but it was definitely Malbrigo Rios. It's 100%, I think, merino wool. But I don't remember off the top of my head what color it was. It was just one that I happened to pick out when I was out at the yarn store near me. But I can follow up with you on that. And Stephanie also joined and said hello. So welcome. Thank you for joining. So yeah, this is the cowl that I'm working on. This cowl was maybe I talked about this last week about having trouble with center single crochet. I don't remember. Okay, so this cowl was set to be done, or like the pattern instructed that it should be done in center single crochet. And that was a disaster. So center single crochet is worked, instead of working into the top loops of the, where you would normally work a single crochet, it's worked between the legs of the stitch. And that doesn't sound impossible until you start doing it hundreds of stitches at a time. I tried everything. I tried going up in hook size. I tried changing hooks. I tried, you name it, I tried it. I did finally kind of get into a rhythm a little bit, but it took me like 2 days to work up like, I don't know, 2 inches of the start of this cowl. And I decided I just didn't have the patience for that. The center single crochet looks really cool. It looks just like knitting. It's got the very distinctive like loop through loop. And so you end up with a very much knit looking fabric. It just wasn't worth the extra effort, in my opinion. I switched to single crochet. I think it will look just fine. There might be a slight offset where it has that little bit of a spiral look to it, because single crochets, when you work them in the round, kind of offset a little bit, and I just don't care. The cowl's for me, and I'm fine with it being just a little bit offset. It's never going to like lay exactly perfect and have been worth the extra effort. Um Interestingly though, out of that whole experience, I did finally find something that clover hooks are not better at. So I swear up one side and down the other about my clover hooks being the best hooks and my favorite thing. It actually turns out that they are not sharp enough on the point to do center single crochet very well. And they're so slippery that they just kind of keep slipping out of the spot where I'm trying to put the hook. And what I mean by that, let me pull a hook up. And I'll see if I can show this pretty well, but I don't know if I can. So with the center single crochet, the goal here, if I can pick this stitch up here. Okay. So the goal is normally to just, the goal is normally to put your hook under right there. So if we're looking, let's see if I can line this up. But normally you put your hook right there and pick up these 2 loops, and then make your single crochet. With center single crochet, you go down a little bit further. Let me try and get my hand out of the way. You go down a little bit further, and instead of going in the loops, you go in this part of the V, between the legs of the lower stitch. And that's all fine and dandy until you try and shove this hook through, and you kind of have to use your finger to give it a little bit of like something to push against, which ended up making my fingers incredibly sore. But what I kept doing was I would slip and end up with my hook there, or I'd slip and I'd end up with my hook there or there. And this hook is so slippery that it's easy for it to just kind of slide out of place. When I was trying to cram my hook into this space, that it would just kind of jump and end up where it was supposed to go in normal single crochet, like under normal circumstances where it would go. So I fought with my clover hook. I ended up switching to a tulip hook, which had both a pointier tip on it, and a little bit less slippery metal. And that was a little bit better. And like I said, I had basically stabbed my finger like 1,000 times, and I was over it. So I pulled it all back out and I redid it in single crochet. And in the amount of time that it took me to do like 2 inches of single crochet, I did all of this. 2 inches of center single crochet. I did all of this in regular single crochet. And I think it's still going to turn out cool. So I did have to modify the pattern. I abandoned the center single crochet, and I think I'm just as happy with the fabric so far. Again, this is the pattern is called Fastnet, which I guess is a lighthouse somewhere in Ireland or something is what it's named after. But that is what I'm working on with this yarn from the Berlin Yarn Company. The last thing that I'm working on, or worked, Fastnet, I think it's what it's called. It's a cowl. My husband's trying to find the link so he can post it in the chat. Last thing that I worked on recently was I made overalls for this giraffe. So this is a gift for my mom. She likes giraffes, and she wanted a giraffe in overalls. I'm not 100% sure why, but that's what she wanted, and so that's what she gets. And so I made overalls for the giraffe, and it was a little bit of a disaster, because giraffes are not shaped for overalls. Yep. So there's my giraffe in overalls. So what I ended up doing here, this was completely freehand. I made basically 14 stitches around, and I made these individual legs, and then I had to figure out how to attach them so far apart. And so what I ended up doing was chaining from one to the next and working around the outside, and I basically made a strip in between. And then I started working all the way around the outside in a spiral until it roughly was pants. And then I worked back and forth back here to fill in this spot. And then I got to this point and I stopped and I cut the yarn, and then I turned around and I basically had to tie up the front legs, and I worked back and forth in this spot and filled in this side, just doing decreases where I had to. And then I just kind of sewed everything up on the side. So normally on overalls, you'd have buttons on the sides, and like latches or whatever you want to call them here. And so that's what I did. It's not something that I could reproduce or like make a pattern on. It was sort of just freehand. And I actually ended up, like, once the legs were made and there was enough pants portion, I ended up just like crocheting the dress into the pants. I'm actually not even totally sure that they could come off. There's a good chance I ran my hook through the fabric of the giraffe at some point. I'm not gonna break it. But yeah, maybe they could come off. But there's a couple of spots where I think I actually like ran my hook through and like stitched it to the giraffe. So it was not super easy, but I think it actually turned out pretty cute. And it is a giraffe in overalls. So it meets the requirements. So anyway, that was one of the things I wanted to show tonight, and just this was just some leftover Lion Brand jeans yarn, and so it's got the kind of flex and stuff that you'd expect out of a denim looking item. I maybe would have gone a little darker, but I kind of think I like the light yellow or the light blue with the pale yellow. So I did have a dark blue with no flex in it, and it didn't look as promising for denim. So this is what I had, and this is what I went with. But other than that, I think that's really all I've been working on. I keep saying this, but I've been very, very busy at work, and so I haven't had a whole lot of time to crochet or really work on these projects. I did spend a while this weekend just kind of finishing up some loose ends on some projects. So I did sew the whole dragon together and got to like piece all of that together and figure out where I'm at on that. I still have a lot of like little pieces to make, but the vast majority of the dragon is assembled. Right now it looks like a cool lizard, but I will keep working on filling him in with more dragon parts. So anyway, I think he turned out pretty cool so far. Even if I didn't add any more dragon pieces, no wings, no ear gill things, no backbone, like, he's a pretty cool lizard, even like just like that. So with no legs, it was very Loch Ness Monster looking, like Val saying Nessie, but yeah, it was very snake or like, I don't know, mythical being looking. With legs, I think it looks more lizard like to me. But anyway, I'm planning on putting the wings on unless something goes terribly wrong when I make them. And then I'll add some accent pieces, whether that's the belly portion or the ear pieces or the scales down the back. I'm not sure yet. the pattern does advise putting all of that stuff on first before trying to attach the wings. So I'm probably going to have to decide pretty soon how much of that I'm putting on. Um, and then I attach the wings, and the wings are primarily made out of that floral wire stuff. And so I have to sort of build a structure out of that and then kind of build the wings onto it. So that's the general plan, but I will definitely show it one more time once I've got more pieces on. But that's where I'm at with that. Um, let's see. Stephanie, Bears, and Vel all like the dragon. And Vel says she can't wait to see it, and nice job. So thank you. Um, I haven't totally figured out. So on the underside of this dragon, I've sewed the legs on here, but it's got like super deep pockets on the side where the legs are not really attached properly. I don't know if I need to go and sew them on completely all the way through here or if the pockets are fine, but it's kind of weird. There's these like odd little pockets. The arms, I guess, actually have them as well. So I might need to get some more of the yarn out. I have just a little ball of it left and like sew those shut. I don't know if they're an issue, but they're kind of weird that they exist. So I might have to go through and sew that up. But I'm surprised at how much I like this floral wire and really how much it does for the whole like the whole thing. Like it's just so cool that it's so posable and like really rigid and not all like flopping all over the place, cuz like this head would definitely just be like flop to one side, and it's not only is it like totally posable but is like rigid when you put it where you want it to be and like just stays kind of infinitely bendable. I'm sure that it's not infinitely bendable, but it's sufficiently bendable that you've got a little bit of uh play with it for a while. Oh, sorry. I didn't know I was going to yawn there. Let's see. Stephanie's asking if I have any Christmas holiday crochet planned, any gift ideas. I think I always mention that my favorite or go-to easy gift is crochet edge blankets. As far as holiday or Christmas crochet planned, I don't have any right now. I probably will end up making a couple of crochet gifts. I try not to go completely nuts because I know that I just don't get them done. It gets too chaotic between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I'm sorry. It just gets too chaotic between Thanksgiving and Christmas, and we end up shopping, and then I just don't get them done. So, the short answer is no, I don't have anything planned. Like I said, I probably will make something. A couple of hats always get made. A couple of, fingerless gloves or cowls or whatever always get made. But I don't have any big projects planned. As far as gift ideas, I think keep it simple and like useful. So, I always think that even in a warmer climate, and if I remember correctly, you're in Florida. Even in a warmer climate, things like fingerless gloves get used. So it gets chilly in the evening or whatever, and it's nice to have just a little bit something extra to put on. Or it's a lot of times chilly in office spaces. Um, I know that like where I work, that the humidity's relatively low, and I just always feel like my hands are a little bit drying out. And so the fingerless gloves can be nice too if you put on a little bit of lotion and then put them over it, that kind of like traps in a little bit of moisture. It's kind of nice. So I like those, and they're easy to make up, and you don't waste a whole bunch of yarn, and they don't take very long to make. And so it's a good gift for pretty much anybody. It's homemade, and it's easy to make a bunch of them. Um, as far as other things, like I said, trying to keep it simple is the best I can um is the best thing I can recommend, I guess. Uh Undertaking a full size or queen size blanket or something is just a real lot, especially this late in the year. It is November, and I think it just overwhelms like crafters. People push themselves to try and get stuff done by Christmas, and it just never happens. So I try to keep my list as small as possible, and I try to rotate through people. So if I made my mom something particularly big last year, that I maybe don't make her something this year and make something for my sister, or whoever. So um it just is it's nice to try and balance, one, so that people don't end up with like the same size scarf collection that I have, because not everybody wants additional hat and fingerless gloves and cowl and all of these things every single year, um because they last a while, and so you end up with 12 hats in pretty short order, and that's not great for everybody. um the other thing is that it's just not necessary to make something for every single person every single year. um People understand that, like, hey, I didn't get one this year, I'll probably get one next year, type of thing. So at least most people do, I think. So um let's see. Oh, Val said she gets a kick out of the tail. I think the tail is awesome. So you work this tail up, and so you start with this, like, it's like 4 stitches in a spiral, and you go increase, 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 and then you don't even start like, there's no stuffing all the way down here. And until you get to like here, you don't even put the wire in, and so you just are making this like floppy tube, and it doesn't go particularly well until you get the wire in there, and then it's a lot easier. Unfortunately, once you put the wire in, then you actually have to crochet around the wire and like keep untangling your yarn as you're working. So that's a little bit annoying, but like I said, it's a lot easier to work with once the wire is in there, because you can curl it up, and it's not all over the place. So uh, I don't know why I'm yawning so much. I guess I'm just exhausted. Oh, it is almost 10 o'clock. Well, that's probably why I'm yawning so much. Um, but yeah, so I guess I just wanted to share these things. I know we got started a little bit late tonight, and I just wanted to share some project updates, make sure I stream. I am not going to stream on Thursday. I'm out of town. So this stream kind of covers last Thursday and this Thursday. But next week we should be able to stream on Thursday, hopefully, and we'll kind of try and get back on track. I like I keep saying, it's been a really busy couple of months at work, and so streaming has just kind of fallen to the wayside. I'd like to get back on a regular cadence of, really streaming on schedule. But I can't promise that's actually going to happen. There are some days when I come home and I'm just like, no, I can't. I'm just going to go be in bed. So, but I this is fun for me, and so I want to keep doing this and trying to stream on a regular basis. I've noticed the more regular I am, that the more people are able to like remember that the stream is coming and join us. So, and the part that's actually fun is interacting with you guys. So as long as there's people watching and chatting with me, that this stays fun. Sometimes it's difficult if there's not enough people watching, that there's not enough conversation, and I end up feeling like I'm just talking to myself, especially since I'm looking at myself on the monitor. So Is that all I'm working on? I do still have a cowl. Where is that? Oh, there it is. So I made this a while back, and I've actually been really excited to wear it, but I haven't sewn in the ends yet, so I need to do that in the next couple of days. But I'm really excited to get to wear this finally. It's getting cold enough. Um, and so this side is like burgundy and blue, and this side is blue with burgundy. So there's the burgundy and blue side. There's the blue with burgundy. This is a relatively complicated pattern to get started, but once you've got it started, it's very easy to work up. And I've had a couple of requests from people to do a video on this, and I might reach out to the pattern designer and see if that would be okay. Because the tutorial that she's got uh, on her blog is not the best as far as like trying to understand what's going on. Um, Getting the rows set up, and really it's just getting like the first 4 rows set up is rather difficult, but it's just a 4-row repeat, and so getting the first 4 rows set up is kind of the whole thing. So but um I don't own the pattern, and so it gets a little bit weird to make videos on patterns I don't own. So, but anyway, I've just got a few ends to sew in on this, and then it's wearable, and I'm pretty excited. This is the Dottie cowl, by the way, if anyone's after making that. And then I did modify the pattern into fingerless gloves, and I have one glove to finish. So this is the one glove, and again, it's completely reversible except for the cuff portion, which I did in a solid color. Or, well, I did it in a speckled color, but I did it in one color. It's not reversible. So you can see there's one fingerless glove, and hopefully I can figure out what I did because I didn't write it down, and I have a partial fingerless glove here. So I'm gonna have to wing it and try and make a second fingerless glove out of this bit that I've started. And figure out how to do this pattern a second time. It won't be that difficult, but I should have just finished this glove when I was working on it actively, and then I switched projects, and now I've forgotten everything about it. So, I think when I made this, I just worked it completely flat and didn't really put any increases in, and then when I seamed it up, I just left a thumb hole. So I think it should be relatively easy to replicate, but that kind of looks like all I did. So hopefully that's all I did, and I can just get 2 of them out of this. So that's the goal there, and like I said, I'm really excited to wear this. So it's got kind of a cool look to it when it's on. And because it's dual layer, it's pretty snugly warm. So you can tell though that it's pretty heavy because it can kind of like stand up on its own. So, but this is a good cowl like length for kind of zipping up into a jacket and like actually being warm rather than just an accessory. So, I think that's actually it for what I'm actively working on right now. I've tons of projects all over the place that are half done, but the stuff that I'm actively working on right now is all of the things that I've shown tonight. So, I guess other than that, if you guys have questions or things that you want to talk about, you can put those in the chat. Otherwise, we're probably going to wrap up. I know we didn't stream for super long, but we had a lot of technical difficulties getting set up. We were already running late, and then we kind of ran into YouTube not wanting to post videos. And so we ran quite a bit behind tonight. But hopefully going forward, we'll go kind of back to our 8 o'clock time frame, and Thursday nights. So I think our next stream will be Thursday the 12th is the goal. I think Friday is Friday the 13th next week. So, anyway, let's see. Stephanie said that she definitely needs a good video to learn a new technique. So yeah, like I said, I would like to be able to show how to do that. I guess if I can find it in enough stitch dictionaries that I would be comfortable with it not being a like somebody's pattern or somebody's technique and it being a common thing that they just kind of turned into a cowl. Like anybody could make a single crochet cowl and publish a pattern on it, and I can still do a video on how to do a single crochet because it's like there's a billion people using single crochet. But when it gets into like pattern territory, I don't feel comfortable, sort of taking somebody else's idea and then sharing how to do it. Even on free patterns or things like that. Like it's somebody else's pattern. So anyway, like I said, if I can find that it's a pretty common stitch technique, I'd be much more comfortable with that, but I don't think it is. So I would probably reach out to the pattern designer and see if that's all right to make a, short tutorial. Yeah. So, I think we're going to go ahead and wrap up then for the evening. Let's see. Yeah. Unfortunately, so yes, if you're just teaching the stitch and not the design, it's a bit easier there, but in this case the stitch is the whole design. So since it's just repeating the same 4 things over and over again, and you have to do all of those 4 things to even understand how to set it up, it gets a little bit sketchier. But either way, I think I'm going to go ahead and wrap up for the evening. And like I said, we're going to aim to stream at 8 o'clock on November 12th, which will be a week from this Thursday. And then hopefully Thursdays at 8 o'clock from then on. Though, again, like I said, I'm going to do my best, but it's been a couple of months at work. So, if you need me during, like, if you have questions or you want to share something with me, you want to get a hold of me, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram at Experiments in Crafting. If I am going to cancel a stream, I will post it on Facebook, Instagram, and on the community section of my YouTube channel. So there's like a little tab that says community. It'll be on there as well. But it's just usually a cancellation. Like, hey, we're going to cancel the stream this week. Sometimes I will say that we're going to reschedule, like this one tonight. But it should be there and hopefully before 8 o'clock. Though sometimes I don't make the decision not to stream until 7:30. And so I'm trying to do my best to learn ahead of time that I'm going to cancel the stream and do it with a little bit more notice, but it's still kind of learning and growing phase there. So, with all of that said, have a great rest of your week, and I hope to see you next week, and thanks for watching. Bye!